Hey, it's Friday, so welcome to the end of the week. Hope everything's going great. Today I'm probably in Savannah, Georgia, maybe doing a ghost tour, who knows, eating some really good food, some fried chicken, stuff like that. But today you're going to be learning about issues in Latin America. So the first one, environmental issues. Rainforest, this is huge. So definitely I would just highlight this entire slide, just make sure you go back to it. Rainforest is a huge critical resource. It creates so much oxygen for us. But not just that, there's so many plants and animals in that region. If I was a betting man, I would definitely bet pretty much all my money that there's a cure for cancer in the rainforest. But of course, we're destroying it. So a lot of the things that we could use to, help medicine and things like that are being destroyed. And of course, biodiversity, like I said, a wide range of plants and animal species. Most of the animals in the world and plants are in the rainforest. That's where the majority of life occurs. And of course, we're destroying it. Other positives for the rainforest, it regulates our climate throughout the world. And it absorbs all the carbon dioxide and produces a lot of our oxygen. You kind of think of it like the lungs of the earth. Each year we see an average about 30.4 million acres lost per year. To give you an idea, the Marcus campus, if you look outside if the windows are open, but this whole area is about 30 acres. So we lose 30.4 million per year. So just think of it that way. It's a lot. Of course, we're logging, for timber and stuff like that to make goods out of the wood. It's also destroyed for raising livestock. So this is going to be like your local people, your natives that live in the region that also destroy the rainforest, so the livestock have a place to graze for tropical crops, and then extractions of minerals and natural resources that are in the ground. If you ever saw the movie Avatar, it'd be kind of like that there's resources in the ground, but to get to it, you have to destroy what's on the ground to get to it. And there's a reason why destroying the rainforest is worse than just an average forest. Rainforest soil is not very fertile. You would think it would be because there's a rainforest on it. You got all this vegetation. But in actuality, it's not. And the reason is whenever you destroy the trees, you get something like this, and it rains about 120 inches a year. Compare that to where we live. On average, we get about 34 inches of rain in a year. They get 120. And so all that rain coming down, since you have trees to kind of block the rain from getting to the surface so easily, the rain just saturates the ground. It creates all this runoff, and any nutrients that are in the soil are totally depleted and run out. And so it's not like a seed can just come down and take root and grow another tree like we see here. It gets washed away, so it's very hard for the rainforest to come back and grow back in places where it's been destroyed. It can't happen. It just takes a very long time, and so you get huge amounts of erosion. Of course, these animals, like I said, you get so many animals that live there. Most of them live in the canopy, which is the tops of the trees. That's where most of them live, and you're destroying that habitat. They don't live down here on the ground. All right, so solutions. You need to know the solutions to help fight the destruction of the rainforest. One is restrict economic development in those regions. Find other places to get those natural resources and stuff like that. Education programs. This isn't just for people outside of the country. Also people that live there, like the natives and stuff like that. Letting them know why they need to preserve the rainforest. Debt for nature swap. This one you'll need to make a note of what this means. For sure. So get ready to write. Debt for nature swap. What this is that a lot of these countries, they owe money to the United States. They have a huge amount of debt to the United States. But if they come up with a program and a way to help sustain their rainforest and their environment that betters all of us, and they show us that program, then we'll excuse their debt in exchange to save their nature. So it's a debt for nature swap. So they say they owe us, let's just say just for example, they owe us $10 million. Well, and then Brazil comes in and says, "Hey, we got this program that's going to cost about $10 million, but it's going to do this for the rainforest and save it in this way." And then we excuse that debt. And then ecotourism. This is where you get tourists that come in to see the rainforest, go ziplining in the rainforest and stuff like that, and learn about all that it offers. So same places like this. Actually, the company I do trips with students does this kind of tourism. And when I go to Costa Rica, in the summer, I'll see some of this as well. I'll go into the rainforest and learn about it firsthand and see some of the animals there and the monkeys and all that. and probably go zip lining in the rainforest as well. And so I'll be taking part of that in that as well this summer in Costa Rica. So it's just going there to learn about the environment. All right, and then other concerns. Got overcrowding in urban areas. We've talked about that already last 2 days. So again, the pollution that's going to cause, lack of infrastructure, sewage waste, all that. Air pollution is horrible. A lot of this is going to come from cars and things of that sort. Keep in mind, like here in the U.S., we have to go and get our cars inspected every year to see if, it's okay for them to run on the streets. They don't do that in Latin America. You can have, like that car that just emits, you've seen those cars on the road before that emit all that exhaust and it just smells disgusting and all that. Well, guess what? Latin America's full of them, and you can't get them off the streets. So they don't try to control that. They don't try to control the fertilizers and things like that are used, or any pollution coming from factories. And their reasoning is that, well, we're a poor country. That's the job of richer countries, can take care of those issues, but we're poor. So only your most developed countries should worry about these kind of problems. This isn't something that us poor countries should worry about because we're just trying to survive. So that's their argument against trying to help it. And then that's why you get places like this. So this is another barrio. You can see built into the side of a mountain. This is not safe. A lot of these buildings that are built in the barrios just collapse and kill people inside. Imagine if there's a mudslide or something like that going all the way down. Or just imagine if you live up here and you walk all the way down, you realize you forgot something. Guess what? You go back up the stairs all the way. And actually experienced something like this in Mexico. I was at one of my friend's houses in Mexico. And she actually lives at the top of a small mountain. We call it a small mountain. It's really a hill. But, it was like walking up to a pyramid. It was probably I would say about 200 steps to get to the top. And it was like 100 degrees outside, 100% humidity. And my wife and I were there. We were going to a wedding. And we came down and realized, hey, we forgot the camera. Went back up, got the camera, came back down. We realized we forgot something else. Had to go back up, come back down, and then we had to walk about 2 miles. Not fun. I hated every minute of it. But they had good tacos. All right, and then this shows you the pollution. Pollution especially is worse in places like Mexico City where it's in a valley, and so all this pollution gets trapped right around the city. And you see it when you fly into Mexico City. It's like you fly into like a cube of pollution. It's just this yellow junk all over the entire city. And then political problems. We talked about in the past how they had oligarchies with few people in power. We had a junta, which a military leader military runs the government, and type 2, the caudillo, which a dictator runs the government, and they could also be together. And so because of this, people have a hard time trusting the government. It's understandable when you think about back to, when we were talking about Mexico and all the problems they had, and then yesterday, how, of course, the Europeans mistreated them, and then in come the juntas and the caudillos and mistreat them as well. Why would you trust the government? They've messed up everything in the past, so there's not this trust of government at all. This map, this shows the most and least corrupt governments in the world, to kind of give you an idea of where they rank. So like, for example, the United States is in the 11th to 29th least corrupt governments in the world. Canada is doing better than us, and they're in the top 10 least. And then you look at Mexico is 31st to 50th, somewhere in that range. Most corrupt governments. And then it just gets worse as you go into Central America and South America, at least in this area. And then Brazil's better, Peru's better, Uruguay, things like that. Chile is actually doing pretty well. So you got a whole mixture throughout here. And then other problems they have, of course, civil wars. They have child soldiers, as you can see pictured here as well. And drug wars that are going on like what we've seen in Mexico. But democracy is spreading, so that is good. So the things that we need to happen in Latin America that democracy depends on to have is free and fair elections, so not like what they had in Mexico, for most of the 20th century, or really all of the 20th century. Citizen participation, so this means people need to start trusting their government and the leaders that are running for office. They're not going to participate if they feel like everyone's a crook. So they need to build, confidence in their government. Majority rule with minority rights, kind of like what we see here, where even though majority may be in power, you still need to take care of the minority and make sure their rights are seen. And then guaranteed freedoms, which is like our Bill of Rights, that there's certain things that need to be written down, that these are guaranteed freedoms. If the government goes against any of these freedoms, then they can be kicked out of office, like we do here. So that way, that would help build that trust of the government, which would go back to citizens participating in the free and fair elections. And the economy. Like I said, they export a lot of raw materials. There's a huge income gap. There's really no middle class, which is an issue because really, like if you look in the United States, the power should be and has been for most of our history in the middle class. But you have a lot of poverty, so the things that we need to fix to fix the economies in Latin America is increase their education. Because since they have little education, they can't read, which means they can't find jobs because you have to read the newspaper or go online to find the jobs. They cannot purchase goods because they don't have a job because they can't read because of the lack of education. So you kind of see how all this ties in. And because of all this, they live in slums. And then because of all this, they have nothing to lose, which so they turn to crime. And then because of all this, they feel disenfranchised, which means they have no say in the politics or anything that's going on in their lives. So again, they turn to crime. This is really the same kind of cocktail that leads to a terrorist. Not a great education, can't find a job, obviously therefore can't purchase anything. They live in crappy areas. They have nothing to lose. They feel disenfranchised and like they don't belong anywhere, and so they turn to terrorism. It's the same kind of setup for the most part. All right, and then you can look at these if you want. This shows income disparity in selected countries. This is from late 90s. It shows you 87 and then around the year 2000, so you can see how it's changed. This graph shows you rates of natural increase in population projected for 2001 to 2015, and it shows you 1975 to 2001. So you can see, luckily, in most countries, rate of natural increase is dropping, so population will begin to hopefully stabilize. And this part shows urbanization. So we talked about urban sprawl and zoning back in Unit 2 and how to plan out cities. Generally in the U.S., what you would find is your central business district in the middle, kind of your high-end areas right there, right around it. And then you kind of intermixture of, factories and stuff like that and slums. And then your suburbs out around on the outside where you see generally higher wealth and stuff like that and people commuting into the city and work. Well, in Latin America, they tend to have this kind of setup. So you have your central business district that instead of kind of like a circle like you see like in Dallas or Fort Worth, it's a spine that goes down. And in this spine, you have the elite people living all throughout here because this is where they work and live. The middle class is right next to the elites. And then the working class, so these are pretty poor people kind of all around spread out through here. And then you have your squatters or your slums, which are mainly on the outskirts of the city, some in the middle of the city, but mainly on the outskirts, kind of spread around. Almost like if this was like a plate of your food or a bowl of soup, this spilled out. It's just kind of the extras that spilled over. And so you can see where your small factories are. Most of them are going to be in the working class area or over towards where the slums are. Your major roads are going to be, of course, where the nice areas are, where people have money. And then your rail line is going to kind of cut through, of course, not through the nice area, but it's going to cut through here. And so it's not going to have a great metro or anything like that. And you can see where small stores are and the little zeros kind of scattered around. And then your big markets as well, which are where the M's are, which I'm trying to see. I don't see them. Maybe you can find it. But they're probably on there somewhere. But the point is, it's not as well planned out as the cities we have here. And so that's the general idea of zoning in Latin America. All right, so that's it. So I'll be back on Monday. I'll be flying in on Saturday, tomorrow. But on Monday, you will have your map quiz. So be ready for your map quiz along with vocab and short answers. So all that should be done by Monday and ready to go. And then the rest of next week is just preparing for your midterm. Remember, midterm is going to be 100 questions, multiple choice over the Unit 1, which was Basics of Geography, Unit 2, which was Human Geography, Culture, and all that, Unit 3, which was U.S. and Canada, and then this unit, which was Latin America. So, and of course, there is a video you can watch to review over for the midterm. I will talk to y'all soon and see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.